He presented my work as his own in front of our whole team. Part 1 of 2. I spent 3 weeks of nights and weekends building a proposal that landed our company's biggest client of the year. My coworker opened the presentation with the words, "So I put together this proposal," and never said my name once. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just forwarded one email. By the end of the week, he was the one sitting in HR, not me. Here's how it happened. So a little context first. I work in marketing at a mid-sized company. I'll keep the industry vague, but think business services, decent-sized client accounts, competitive but not cutthroat. I'd been there about 2.5 years at the time this happened, and I was genuinely good at my job. Not saying that to brag, just laying out the facts so the rest of this makes sense. My coworker, I'll call him Mark, had been there a little longer than me, maybe 4 years. Mark was one of those guys who was incredibly good in the room, charming, confident, great at reading a client, could improvise a pitch on the fly. But behind the scenes, Mark was not exactly known for being a heavy lifter. He was good at closing, not so much at building. We weren't close friends, but we were friendly. Grabbed lunch sometimes, chatted in the break room, that kind of coworker relationship. I had no real reason to distrust him going into this. Then in the fall, our company got a shot at pitching one of the biggest potential clients we'd ever gone after. I'm talking a contract that would have been roughly 1/3 of our annual new business if we landed it. Leadership put together a small team to build the proposal, and I was assigned as the lead on it, with Mark as a supporting team member. This proposal was not a small task. I'm talking research, competitor analysis, custom creative concepts, a full strategic framework, pricing models, 3 rounds of internal revisions. I worked late probably 4 nights a week for those 3 weeks. I came in on 2 separate weekends. I skipped my own cousin's birthday dinner because I was finalizing a deck at 9 p.m. on a Saturday. Mark, to his credit, did contribute some things during this period. He sat in on 2 client discovery calls. He gave feedback on a couple of slides. He helped format one section of the pricing breakdown. I want to be fair here. He wasn't a complete ghost. But if you had to put a rough percentage on it, I'd say I did somewhere around 85 to 90% of the actual work. The strategy, the research, the writing, the design, the modeling, that was almost entirely me. Every single file was saved under my name, in my folder, with version history showing me as the primary editor. I mention that because it matters a lot later. By the time we were ready to present, I honestly felt proud of it. It was some of the best work I'd done at that company. The morning of the pitch, Mark comes over to my desk and says, "Hey, since I'm better with clients live, why don't I take the lead on presenting today? You can jump in for the technical stuff." Now, in hindsight, huge red flag. But in the moment, it didn't sound unreasonable. Mark genuinely was good at presenting, and I actually don't love public speaking that much. I said sure, thinking this was going to be a shared presentation where he handles delivery and I'm still very much positioned as the person who built it. We walk into the client meeting. Our boss is there too, sitting in to observe since this was such a big potential account. Mark opens the meeting, and here's word for word as close as I can remember it. "Thanks everyone for being here. So I put together this proposal based on what we discussed in our discovery calls, and I'm really excited to walk you through it. Not we, not my team and I. Not a single mention of my name. Not in the intro, not throughout the entire 45-minute pitch, not during the Q&A afterward, where he answered detailed strategic questions using my own research, in some cases word for word. I sat there. I didn't say anything in the room, partly because I was genuinely stunned, and partly because interrupting a live client pitch to correct credit attribution felt like it would have made things worse in front of the client, not better. The client loved it, genuinely loved it. They said it was one of the strongest pitches they'd seen from any vendor. Our boss was thrilled walking out of the room. That afternoon, our boss sends a team-wide email. Subject line, "Huge win today." Body of the email, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, but this is close. Wanted to give a shout out to Mark for putting together an incredible proposal and knocking the client pitch out of the park. "Great work landing this one, Mark." My name wasn't in the email. Not even a mention like "and the supporting team." I sat at my desk for probably 10 minutes just staring at that email. I want to be honest with you. My first instinct was to just let it go. I'm not a confrontational person by nature. And I know how coworker drama complaints can sometimes make the person complaining look worse. Not better, even when they're completely right. But then I thought about the actual weekends I'd given up. The late nights. The fact that every single file, every draft, every version had my name on it as the creator, and Mark had just stood up and taken full credit like none of that existed. So I decided I wasn't going to make a scene. I was just going to let the facts speak. I opened up our shared project drive. I found the original proposal file, the very first version I'd created 3 weeks earlier, with a timestamp clearly showing the creation date. I pulled up the version history, which showed dozens of edits, almost all under my name, spanning the entire 3-week period. I forwarded the file, along with a screenshot of the version history, directly to my boss. No dramatic message. No accusations. I kept it completely neutral. Something like, "Hey, glad the client loved the proposal. Wanted to share the original file and version history in case it's useful for the account records. A lot of the strategic groundwork is documented in here." That's it. That's the entire move. I didn't say Mark did anything wrong. I didn't ask for credit. I just made the actual history of the work visible and let my boss draw her own conclusions. About an hour later, I get a message from my boss. She asks, and I remember this pretty clearly. "Hey, quick question. I noticed your name wasn't mentioned once during today's pitch or in the follow-up. Can we chat tomorrow morning?" I said sure, but I had no idea just how far this was about to go, or that it would end up uncovering something Mark had done to someone else, years before me. That's next in part 2. Subscribe so you don't miss it.